Welcome back. Well, tonight we're going to take a look at the Elders book. We're going to look at Appendix A. That's where the Elders book reads more like a manual on policing bedrooms than on shepherding a flock. And inside, elders are trained to question, monitor, and even investigate what you do behind closed doors. So stick with us, folks. We're going to go over to Appendix A, and we're going to see what's inside the Elders book. So this is what it looks like, shepherding the flock. You've probably seen some of the elders holding this private book. It's a secret book. It's a book that's actually copyrighted out of the Republic of Korea, and that's more of a legal deflection. But when we look at the context, it's a pretty tame-looking book. You know, there's nothing I see there in the table of contents that would alert me to go and look at sex, anything on sex. So it's all hidden. It's like an illusion. I said this on another video. It's like if you ever go to a magician's show, it's smoke and mirrors. And let's say they have someone up there and then they're gone. Well, that's what this is. It's hidden under the stage in Appendix A, matters requiring the formation of a committee. So we're going to zoom into that, and we're just going to read from it and let you guys see what's in the Elders book. And this helps a lot of the audience too, because if you're still in the congregation, if you're still in the organization, you can you kind of have a heads up on what's in this Elders book before you walk into an elders meeting, right? And you see, this is where the elders have one up on everyone with this secret manual. They pull you into this meeting, 3 elders and just you, and they all have the book. You don't have the book. You don't know what's in the book unless you're an elder. And then, you're judged according to this book. That's just how it is. Always has been that way. So let's take a look at it. It starts out with permitting individuals to commit sexual immorality in the home. It starts out there after the... that's part of the table of contents. Okay. So number 1, we're going to read through this. This appendix lists wrongdoings that may be serious enough to form a committee of elders. However, there may be another matter that would require the formation of a committee, like a building committee or a cleaning committee or other committees. And if the body of elders is unsure whether certain wording or wrongdoing requires the formation of a committee, it may assign 2 elders to contact the service department. So therefore, we know that the committee is more than 2 elders, just from reading this paragraph. So a committee could be a lot of elders. I read in one part of the book it could be up to 12 elders. We'll read that later. But a committee is usually 3 elders. 3 elders form a committee, a judicial committee. And 2 elders are a investigative committee. That's what they used to call it. They'd go in and investigate. Okay, so 2 elders go in, they investigate. We get into section number 2, sexual immorality, porneia. Number 2, sexual immorality involves the immoral use or manipulation of genitals, whether in a natural or in a perverted way, with lewd intent. We're not going to read the scriptures. You guys can if you want. If they came up when I clicked them, I would, but they don't. It's not the Watchtower site. This book's not available on the site. It goes on to say it includes adultery, bestiality, homosexuality, and prostitution. It also includes oral sex, anal sex, the manipulation of genitals between individuals not married to each other. Masturbation of oneself is not sexual immorality. Okay, so sexual immorality, you can masturbate and you won't get charged with sexual immorality. I don't know if that's new or not. but that's what's in this elder's book. There must have been another party to the immorality. So there's got to be two parties. So another person or animal, it says. Sexual immorality does not require skin-to-skin contact, copulation, as in penetration or sexual climax. So it does not require that. So here it lays it out for us. The elders are going to be reading this book as asking you questions to try to figure out what kind of sexual immorality you've been involved in. So number one, there's the immoral use of conveys the thought not just of touching, but of operating, manipulating, or employing something. So maybe using a machine like a vibrator. Operating, because it says operating, right? Like operating machinery. For example, it is one thing to touch a musical instrument. It is something different to play a musical instrument. So immoral use conveys the thought not just of touching, but operating, manipulating, or employing. So does that mean it's okay to touch it? It's okay to touch, but not play it? I don't know. I'm just going to read you the book. Lewd intent, number 2. Lewd intent identifies the motive. For example, a doctor may need to manipulate the genitals in examining a patient. A veterinarian, farmer, or rancher may do something similar to an animal. However, the intent is not sexual gratification. Well, thanks for that clarification, Watchtower. Are we stupid? Some of this stuff, I don't know. Watchtower thinks, I guess they want to control everything. They want, like, the fact that it's in this book means it's control. So they think you're stupid, I guess. Okay, number 3, manipulation conveys the idea of operating something, whether by use of hands or some other means, and does not require skin-to-skin contact. I thought they just had that up there. Momentary touching of another genitals, even if intentional, would generally not be considered sexual immorality. So you can get away with, it looks to me like you can get away with momentary touching of another's genitals, even if it's intentional. You wouldn't get into a meeting the investigative elders would come and talk to you. They would look in their little book and they'd say, well, what did you do? What happened? Well, he touched my or she touched my genitals, or he touched her genitals, she touched his, whatever. But it's momentary, and it looks like you'd get away with it. You wouldn't get in trouble. Well, they'd wonder why you got to that point, and they'd ask you a lot of questions. You'd get in trouble, but you wouldn't get DF'd. You wouldn't get into a committee. 3 elders, that's when it's a bad thing. 3 elders. Now, number 3, sexual immorality requires willing participation. One who was raped would not be guilty of sexual immorality. Elders need discernment when considering claims of rape. They should take into consideration factors such as mental disposition of the person, the circumstances that led up to the incident, and any delay in reporting. Now, that's not reporting to the police, folks. That's reporting to the elders. Number 4, when determining if an individual is guilty of sexual immorality, it is important to establish the relevant facts. This is especially true when the scriptural freedom to remarry is involved. If the elders are uncertain or divided on their conclusions, it's best to write the service department. See, that's most of the book. We're going to do another video covering child abuse, and most of it they have to contact the service desk. So that's just goes to show you the control that comes from Watchtower. Watchtower's controlling everything right from the service desk. And it's all throughout the book. So now, strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality. A committee may be formed for sexual immorality if at least 2 eyewitnesses report that an individual stayed all night in the same house with a member of the opposite sex. Can you believe that, folks? They're not only monitoring your bedroom, they're monitoring your whereabouts, where you're going, and who you're visiting with. Maybe it was your sister. They didn't know you had a sister. Maybe it was your aunt. Maybe it was a relative. I don't know. But they're watching. And if they think that you're up to no good, they're gonna spy on you. And we're going to talk a little bit about the human rights in a bit. Does this break human rights? Yes, it does. And we're going to open that up at the end here and look at some of the human rights that they're breaking. So let's carry on. It says under improper circumstances. So so they add that in under improper circumstances. What does that mean? Well, probably, maybe you're dating someone and you go over to their house and you stay overnight. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. The elders will sit there and talk about it. Talk about this one sentence for a whole hour. Now, depending on the attitude of the individual, that's a big thing, your attitude, folks. If you have a good attitude, it can get you a lot further in an elders meeting. It said there might be evidence of brazen conduct, depending on the attitude, right? So if your attitude is kind of smart-assy to the elders, they're going to call that brazen conduct and disfellowship you anyways. They're going to get you. Brazen conduct, we'll look at that. It seems to be a wording that they have that gets them in a position to disfellowship people easily. So now, it says the elders cannot apply one rule to every situation. After 2 elders have thoroughly investigated, the body of elders should carefully evaluate each situation, taking into consideration what? The points in the July 2018 issue of the Watchtower, page 32? Really? So these elders have to go and do a bunch of research. I'm not going to look that up. Now, if the elders are unsure how to proceed, they should consult the service department. Really? Bunch of babies. I don't get it. The service department, they pull all the strings if you're free to remarry. This remarrying is a big thing. You know, a lot of people that are disgruntled leave their mate, leave the Watchtower, and don't get divorced maybe. You know, maybe they split things up or whatever. And that really makes it difficult for someone that's in the Watchtower, because now they need a divorce. There's no... and the only way they can get a divorce is based on adultery. So let's say the partner leaves. There's no evidence of adultery. Nothing. Maybe the partner disappears. Well, that person that's in the Watchtower, in the Kingdom Hall, cannot get remarried. You know, and it could be years. It's quite evident that the partner had sex a lot of times. And after 2 years of separation, you're as good as divorced anyways, according to the law here in Canada. But for Watchtower, it's life. You got to hire a private investigator and go check out your mate, your ex. If you're in the Watchtower, this is a terrible thing, but this is what they're doing. It's right here in their elders book. Number 6, they're right into your bedroom, folks. Right in thick into your legal, your bedroom, everything. And they're asking all the questions. And if you don't answer, it's brazen conduct. If you don't answer correctly. If you say, what business is it of yours? Oh, brazen conduct. Talking to us like that. What business is it of ours? Do you know who we are? We are the elders. You see, this is what goes on in their heads. This just gets me. Now, number 6, it says, consider an example in which the formation of a committee would be warranted, despite counsel from elders. Married brother spends an inordinate amount of time with a woman he is not married to. He insists there's no romantic interest. However, his wife, a relative, observed him enter the woman's home at 10. Look, they give a little scenario, folks. 10 p.m. and he continues watching all night until he leaves home at 7 a.m. When the elders speak to him, he admits that he spent the night with the woman, but he denies that he committed adultery. In such a case, the elders have a basis to form a committee because there is strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality, and there may be elements of brazen conduct. You see that, folks? If the individual is repentant and allowed to remain in the congregation, an announcement of the reproof should be made to the congregation. The innocent mate's conscience may allow her, they always blame it on her. You see that again, folks? Always the woman. Every disfellowshipping video, shunning video they've done, they depict a woman. Well, may allow her to divorce him and remarry. Okay. Well, what about allow him to divorce and remarry? A committee would not be formed if she remarries. She should be criticized if that is her decision. She should not be criticized. So let's look at that again. If the individual is repentant, allowed to remain in the congregation, an announcement of the reproof should not be made. The innocent mate's conscience may allow her to divorce him and remarry. Committee would not. So if your husband or wife went and stayed in someone's house all night and they spied on you until 7 a.m. in the morning, you could divorce them. You could divorce that person. That's what it looks like to me. If you're an elder out there, let me know in the comments. This kind of tricky wording in some of this stuff. Number 7. You can get these on the store, YouTube store. And you can get the shirts there too. Now, if the body of elders or the committee determines that there is strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality, there would be no basis for allowing the innocent mate to take the responsibility for Jehovah to divorce and remarry, following our examples, in which a committee would likely not need to be formed. So if the body of elders determines that there's strong circumstantial evidence of sexual immorality, let's say an elderly Christian living alone has a member of the opposite sex move into the home to help care for him. There's no evidence of romantic relationships. They're even getting into your life as you grow older. Isn't that something, eh? They have to spell it out for these elders. Number 2, after attending a social gathering at a single sister's home, a brother walks to a train station to catch the train home. After waiting for some time, the brother learns that the last train for the day has already left the station. He walks back to the sister's home, but by the time he arrives, everyone has left and it's quite late. So the sister allows him to sleep in the living room while she sleeps in her bedroom. Is that okay? It says, following are examples in which a committee would likely not need to be formed. Not. So you could get away with that scenario. You walk a sister back. It's late. There's no way you're going to catch enough trains to get back. So if you plan this right, you walk the sister to her home back late, and the trains are all done. You're going to get mugged or something. You can't go home. You're living in the city. So the sister allows you to sleep in the living room while she sleeps in her bedroom. You can get away with that, it looks like. Section 2. Okay. Number 3. So the brother, he keeps walking the sister home late all night, every Friday night. Walks the sister home late, stays overnight, comes home Saturday morning. I wonder if that would fly. Anyways, it's in their elders book. I'm just reading it to you. Number 3, a single brother visits a married couple for several days. One night after everyone goes to bed, the husband is called to an emergency at his place of work, and he does not return until morning. The wife and the single brother are alone in the home all night, sleeping in separate bedrooms. You can get away with that. That's okay. So it's good, Watchtower, that you let the elders know all these little circumstances that people can get away with, like common sense. Anyways, you see, folks, the Watchtower should not be in people's bedrooms, period. This is an invasion of your personal privacy. Now, entering marriage when not scripturally free, they go on to talk about this some more. If a baptized Christian remarries but was not scripturally free to do so, he is guilty of adultery. And if his new wife is baptized, a committee would also need to meet with her. Remarriage brings a scriptural end to the previous marriage. Forgiveness or rejection on the part of the innocent mate is no longer possible. Now, a Christian who is married when not scripturally free would not qualify for privileges for many years, it says. Many years. And additionally, he would need to live down any notoriety that reproach associated with his wrongdoing. So you'd pretty well have to move into a new congregation, probably. Change provinces, change cities, that's what they do. Elders should take into consideration the current circumstances of the previous mate who may have been dealt with treacherously, and any minor children who may have been abandoned by the guilty mate. Now, if a Christian deliberately committed adultery in the scheming way so as to end his marriage, or he has pressured his innocent mate to reject him so that she eventually agrees to a divorce, he has dealt treacherously with her. Malachi 2:14-16. This would apply even if he does not remarry. He would not qualify for special privileges. For how long? For many years. Many years. So, I'm just reading you the book, so some of this might apply to you. Some of it might be a hot spot. This is what the elders read, and this is how they're going to judge you. Child abuse has its own section. Chapter 9. I'm going to cover this on another video, so we're just going to skip over it. Now here's one. Gross uncleanness and uncleanness with greediness. I think this is like a trick paragraph, but it says uncleanness to a serious degree should be handled by a committee of elders. What does that mean, uncleanness to a serious degree? Probably all sexual. When reviewing matters involving uncleanness such as those that follow, the elders may find it helpful to review the July 15, 2006 issue of the Watchtower, page 29 to 31, right at the end. And the elders should use good judgment in discerning whether the conduct is minor uncleanness that can be handled by council or is gross uncleanness that requires the formation of a committee. And the coordinator of the body of elders would always be informed if the matter was handled by the council. And when questions arise, consult the service department. Gross uncleanness may be involved in, but it's not limited to, the following matters. So that just kind of sets out the rules for this all. We're going to now look at gross cleanness and see what it says. Or gross uncleanness. Yeah, I said that wrong. Okay, so number 13, here's some gross uncleanness. This is really gross, folks. I hope you guys don't do this. Momentary touching of intimate body parts or caressing of breasts. It's gross. It's very gross. It's unclean. Are you kidding me? Like, is this for real? So, we're talking about gross uncleanness, and here's all the gross uncleanness. So husbands and wives, be careful. Be careful. So here it is. Counsel from 2 elders may suffice if such conduct occurred on a few isolated occasions, especially between 2 individuals involved in courtship. Okay, they're not married yet, with intent to marry. So maybe the husbands and wives can get away with it. Not sure yet. However, if the conduct escalates into gravity and frequency, it may become gross uncleanness and greediness, because you want more, right? You want more breasting. It happens more often than just once or twice. Now, their wrongdoing may also constitute brazen conduct. That they love that word, brazen conduct. if they give evidence of disrespectful, insolent attitude toward God's law. So if the elders come to you, that's like God's law, right? They're coming to you, and you say to the elder, "Are you kidding me?" Let's say someone reported you touching your fiance's breast. I don't know. Maybe you had your arm around her, and your hand kind of went, and maybe you breasted a bit. I don't know. You're marrying this woman, right? Someone's seen it. The elder pulls you aside. Two elders. It'll always be two elders because they want to back each other up. And they'll say, "Hey, this is what happened. You had your hand on your fiance's breast at that wedding. You guys went to that gathering, whatever. Someone saw it. You're breasting." And you say, and let's say you say, "Are you kidding me?" They're going to call that brazen conduct. They might. You got to be careful how you talk to these elders. They have this brazen conduct all the way through, so they can get you on it by your reaction. So you'd have to say, "Well, I'm sorry, brother. You must be mistaken. Can we have that brother be brought before us so I can question him? And we can talk about this whole thing. And brothers, you're making it look like the whole congregation has seen me putting my hand on my fiance's breast. But that's not so, brothers." You see, you'd have to keep your whole voice pretty level for them to not call it brazen conduct. So be careful. Now, if they give evidence of disrespectful, insolent attitude toward these elders, they call it God's law, but it's the elders. For example, the individuals may have no intentions of pursuing marriage. Well, that could happen, right? But they're in there. They're going to be talking to you. So that's right in the elders' book. It helps them to understand how to do this, I guess. Number 14, immoral conversation over the telephone or the internet. A practice of engaging in immoral conversations over the telephone or the internet, including sexting, can involve obscene speech or gross uncleanness. Counsel from two elders may suffice if such conduct occurred on a few isolated occasions. However, if the conduct escalates in gravity and frequency, it may constitute gross uncleanness with greediness or obscene speech, especially if the individual had been previously counseled. So, they'll give you a couple of chances. Sexting, what's that? Obscene speech, gross uncleanness. How are they going to find that stuff out? Moral conversation over the telephone or the internet. So, I don't know, you're having this immoral conversation, and this is Watchtower's view of a moral conversation. Who's going to report you? You're having this conversation with your fiance, your girlfriend, boyfriend. Well, I guess it's probably when someone else sees the message. And then I don't know how the two-witness rule works there. But a lot of times the elders get the person that's telling on you to forward the text messages to them, forward the emails so they have the evidence on their phones. And that's what I've seen happen, folks. So usually this is going to happen because someone told on you, wanted to get you in trouble. Counsel, so they'll meet with you. They'll give you a couple of chances on that one. Viewing pornography. What's going to happen if you view pornography and you're in the Watchtower, you're JW? Well, although the deliberate viewing of pornography is a sin, not all cases require handling by a committee of elders. Whew. That was a close one, eh? Now, if the body of elders determines a committee is not needed, but the matter involves a pioneer, a ministerial servant, or an elder, his qualifications should be reviewed. An entrenched practice of viewing, perhaps over a considerable period of time, abhorrent forms of pornography should be handled by a committee. Like, how are they going to know? Abhorrent forms of pornography include homosexuality, sex between those of the same gender, group sex, bestiality, sadistic torture, bondage, gang rape, the brutalizing of women, or child pornography. You see, child pornography, folks, and we'll cover that on another video, but in most countries, it's a crime. It's a very serious thing, child pornography. And they kind of view it here, well, let's see what they say about it. If you're viewing child pornography, if it's all included in all of this stuff, what happens? Well, it says, if a Christian promotes the viewing of pornography, whether abhorrent or non-abhorrent forms, such as by inviting others to view it, this could be evidence of brazen conduct, which would require handling by a committee. So yeah, so if you find something on a if a brother, usually this is the brothers, and you get a couple of brothers over, they're drinking beer, and they go back into the guy's office, and I've seen this, and they're looking at pornography. There's various types. It could be soft porn. Usually it's soft porn, but that's what it was when the internet first came out back in the day. And those brothers are now elders that were showing soft porn. But anyways, that's another story. Abhorrent forms of pornography. So yeah, you're not going to get into a committee even with child pornography. You know, it's funny that they didn't pull that out, because that is a crime in most countries. So the elders aren't getting the proper direction on this one. Okay, number 16, misuse of tobacco. Well, you can get disfellowship for smoking cigarettes, but you can smoke weed, pot, cannabis, marijuana. You can smoke that, but you can get disfellowshipped for smoking cigarettes. Go figure. Well, let's read it. Misuse of tobacco. Counsel from one or two elders may suffice if an individual abused an addictive drug or smoked cigarettes on one or two occasions, and the matter is not widely known. However, a committee is required for a practice of abusing addictive drugs, including betel nut, marijuana, and tobacco. So they put marijuana in there, and they're going to form a committee on it. But that's if you're using it for recreational purposes. Now, number 17, it says, the proper use of addictive drugs under medical supervision, such as for pain management, would not require the formation of a committee. A lot of cancer patients are allowed to, or given a prescription actually, to smoke or to use marijuana, cannabis. Apparently it helps with the pain. Now, in this regard, the following would be left to each Christian to make a personal decision. Using marijuana as a treatment if prescribed by a medical doctor, such is legal. Growing marijuana for personal use under a medical doctor's supervision is legal. So you can do that. Growing marijuana for someone else in his household who is using it and is under a medical doctor's supervision, and if doing so, is legal. If it's legal in your country, right? Now, growing hemp, which is another product, it's just they use it for ropes and stuff, so they don't smoke it. But it's more of a commercial product. They can use it for all kinds of stuff. But you have to have licenses to grow hemp. But Watchtower is saying you can grow hemp, as if we need their permission, right? But it's in the Elders book. Now, number 18, if a Christian's medical use of marijuana or growing of it for his personal medical needs, here's the clincher, folks, causes a disturbance in the congregation. So that's going to get you in trouble. Even though they say you can have medical marijuana, they're going to say, yeah, people have noticed it smell on your jacket. It's causing a bit of disturbance here at the Kingdom Hall. You're going to have to quit doing it. They're going to say, yeah, if it causes a disturbance, he may no longer be viewed as exemplary. Yeah, Brother Hoole, we smell marijuana on you. We know you have a medical thing, but we're going to have to strip you of all your privileges. No more talks, no more mics. Just sit at the back of the hall and we'll forget about you. They're still going to dishonor you, but you see, the folks, they can't with medical marijuana because JWs take all kinds of prescription drugs. In fact, I know a lot of them that just overuse them, and they use them in a bad way. Prescription drugs. So they can't stop you from prescription drugs, but they can make you feel bad about it. You're going to cause a disturbance in the congregation. You won't be viewed as exemplary, and it would not be proper for a Christian to use marijuana just to experience euphoria or to grow it for others who are not part of his household. So they have a little clause there. You got to be careful that you don't stink when you go to the Kingdom Hall. Use all kinds of Febreze. And don't invite people over to your house. You can't invite anybody over to your house if you're growing it, especially, even if you have it, because it smells. And yeah, I think it would be hard. Let me know in the comments if you're in the Watchtower, if you're in the Kingdom Hall, and you know of anybody out there using medical marijuana, and if they're having any issues in the Kingdom Hall. Be an interesting story. Okay, the next one is extreme physical uncleanness. Now we're getting into probably not sex things. This is just if you didn't shower for a while. Or your place of residence. Let's say you didn't clean your house, you don't do your dishes, and the house is a mess. Well, a committee could be formed if the elders are not certain that the uncleanliness is offensive, bringing much reproach upon Jehovah's name, especially if your yard's dirty. I know of one elder, they deleted him because he was a farmer and he had a bunch of old vehicles and combines and tractors, all, like 100 years, generation after generation of old stuff. And it became a boneyard, and they deleted him because his yard brought reproach on Jehovah's name. I couldn't figure out how it brought reproach on Jehovah's name, but he got deleted, and it really caused a lot of hardships for him mentally, that brother. I remember that. And anyways, it says, and there is blatant willful disregard of the counsel and assistance given. So maybe they offered the brother some help to clean up his yard, and he didn't take the help. He said, I don't want the help. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. There's all kinds of situations like that have happened. Now here's the one I wanted to talk about, brazen conduct. We finally got to it. A definition of what brazen conduct really is. They're using it all the way through. You can get nailed for brazen conduct on anything. And it's really how you respond. Now, it says here, rather than relating to bad conduct of somewhat petty or minor nature, it says brazen conduct describes acts that reflect an attitude that shows disrespect, disregard, or even contempt for the elders. Well, it says divine standards, but that's not really what it means. It means the elders. They're the police. So if you show disrespect, disregard for the police, for the elders, which they call divine standards and laws and authority, which is all a bunch of BS. This is all the elders wanting their ego to be tickled. Oh, elder so-and-so, can I open the door for you? And he goes through and you call him an asshole under your breath, right? This is the kind of BS that goes on in these kingdom halls. They cater to the elders like that and invite them over for meals and stuff like that. A lot of it. I had no use for that. Now, therefore, it says two elements are involved in brazen conduct. Number one, the conduct is a serious violation of Jehovah's law. And number two, the attitude of the wrongdoer toward Jehovah's law is disrespectful and insolent. Well, that's towards the elders. Number two, the attitude of the wrongdoer toward the elders. Take out the Jehovah's law stuff. They'd stuck that in there. But it's how you talk to these elders. And though this is not an exhaustive list, brazen conduct may be involved in the following actions. Unnecessary association with the persons who have been removed from the congregation. So if someone's removed, remember, that's disfellowshipped. This is how this is. So the person's disfellowshipped, let's use the real word, disfellowshipped, shunned. They call it removed now. Person's removed. If you associate with that person, brazen conduct, you're in trouble. And people who have disassociated themselves, like myself, I walked away. So if you associate with me, that's brazen conduct on your part. There's a difference between, it says here, greeting a person who has been removed or who has disassociated himself and socializing with him. So they can whine all day in court about how nothing changes in the family. That's BS. It's right here in their elders book. You can't socialize with them. You cannot socialize with your family. It's brazen conduct. Your family is DF'd, your family member. Family member just quits going, disassociates himself. It says a committee should be formed. They want a committee formed for this. Despite repeated counsel, an individual willfully and continually engages in unnecessary association. Oh, they're saying with a non-relative, who has been removed from the congregation or who has disassociated himself. So it sounds like they put the non-relative in there. So if you're a relative, does that mean you can socialize? If you're a relative, can you socialize with someone that's removed? So let's say they don't live in the same house. Now, you see, if they live in the same house, it's different. But let's say they don't live in the same household, but they're a relative. Can you socialize? Ask your elder and let me know in the comments. But according to this, you're only counseled if it's non-relative. If it's a relative, you can get away with it. It sounds like now you can get away with it. Let me know in the comments. I don't believe it, but if I read that book right on section 21, I think I could get away with it. You see the advantage, folks, of having this book? It's like you're going into court and you have no idea what you're being judged for. Do you know in the court of law of today, you cannot go take someone to court without telling them in advance, well in advance, of what you're suing them for? You got to lay it all out. You got to give them all your evidence. Everything's dispersed of before you get in front of a judge. You see, the Watchtower, they don't do this. You don't know how you're being judged and why you're being judged. But having this book in front of you, you can now go in with a good idea how you're going to get judged. And it can help you a lot. So now, a committee should be formed in 22 here, despite repeated counsel, if the individual persists in associating with a relative who is promoting apostate teachings or wrong conduct. Really? Okay. This is brand new. So up here in 21, you can kind of get away with associating with a relative. But here it says, if an individual persists in association with a relative who is promoting apostate teachings. So all the relative would have to say is, hey, I seen a video on YouTube the other night, and it was on such and such a channel, and you got to watch it. Now he's promoting apostate material, this relative, right? And all the relatives do. They're trying to get those JWs out, wake them up. All the relatives are. So if you're a relative and you're promoting apostate material, a committee will be formed if they find out, right? That's a rule book. So in one breath, they say you can associate with your relatives, but on the other breath, you can't. Do you see the double-edged sword here, folks? Because all your relatives are going to be against. They're going to say, hey, did you see on the news the other night how they were broadcasting about how all these CSA's going on and the Jehovah's Witnesses? You see, that relative is pushing apostate stuff. The apostate stuff is the news media. According to JW.org, they're apostate. Because the apostates have fed them, right? So, yeah, this is a double-edged sword, folks. They have a double-tongued book. It's not a clear book. Okay, let's carry on. Dating through not scripturally free to remarry. They're covering that again. They're bound on that one, aren't they? A Christian should not date or purchase romantic relationship with or pursue a romantic relationship with an individual if one or both are not scripturally or legally free to remarry. So if they continue to do so despite repeated counsel, a committee should be formed. Okay, so now we're getting into drunkardness, gluttony, stealing, thievery. See all the stuff on sex, folks? Most of it was on sex. We get into drunkardness. There's a little bit. By the way, I covered that the other night. You can get drunk. It's right here in the Elders book. You're allowed to get drunk. If you drink to the point of drunkardness in a private setting, such as his own home, and there's no notoriety, no one knows about it, the coordinator of the body of elders should be informed of the matter. However, a committee should be formed when there's a practice of drunkardness or it brings notoriety. That's the only time, if it's public. You know, if there was, let's say you were having a party, a get-together. I don't know if they do parties, if they're allowed that, but they have a get-together, and there's alcohol, and you get drunk, and there's a whole bunch of congregation members there, and you're dancing on the coffee table and stuff like that, drunk. Yeah, you could get in trouble. But maybe not, but yeah, you're going to get met with. People are going to tell on you. And if it just happened once, you probably just get some counsel. You know, you could come up with all kinds of excuses. You know, you're probably not a drunk. You just drank too much that night and got drunk. But if you went out partying on, you know, on the main street in the city where it's open 24 hours, the bars never close, and you're on the 6 o'clock news the next day because, I don't know, you were drunk. Let's say there was a stabbing or something and the news was down there, but you're in the background and you're drunk with a whole bunch of drunks. You will get disfellowshipped. I've seen it happen. Anyways, that's on drunkardness. So, again, a double standard. Only if the public knows. You see, JW.org is about burying things under the carpet. And this is what is getting them all in all their trouble about child abuse. They're burying it all under the carpet, hiding it. So long as your drunkardness is hidden, it's okay. I know so many elders that would just go home and drink a bottle of wine until they go to sleep, till they pass out. They're drunks. They're alcoholics. A lot of them. And I've seen it with my own eyes in about 5 different congregations. So, gluttony. If you're gorging yourself on food to the point of feeling uncomfortable and becoming sick, well, the elders are going to be meeting with you. Let's say after service, you know, everyone goes to the Sunday smorgasbord, you know, all you can eat buffet, and you're in there for a couple of plates, you know, you're a big guy, and or big gal. They like to pick on women too, eh? But they might get you for gluttony. They like to get brothers, you know, if they want to delete a brother, get him out of privileges, scare him. That's what they do. You're eating too much in public. You know, you're really fat, and gluttony. You know, we're gonna have to take your privileges away. But they could disfellowship you. This is in the disfellowshipping section. But there'll be a committee for sure if you're a glutton. Now, stealing and thievery, as long as the elders can steal, but you can't. Though all stealing is wrong, the body of elders should be okay to steal. Oh no, no, it didn't say that. They should use discernment in weighing the circumstances. I could say a lot on this, but elders get away with so much. If we knew what was in the elders book, we could disfellowship so many of the elders. Now, deliberate, malicious, lying, and bearing false witness. I knew one elder that every second word you wouldn't know if it was the truth. And he said, oh, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. And it got frustrating. The guy is such a blatant liar. And he did end up getting disfellowshipped. But he was an elder for a long time. But deliberate, malicious, lying, and bearing false witness, a committee should be formed. Malicious means deliberate, harmful, harboring ill will, enmity. A committee should not be formed for mere exaggeration. So this is This is where he was getting away with it. Mere exaggeration. Oh, I'm just joking. Or petty, misleading statements, relatively minor consequences, or for lying because of a momentary pressure or fear of man. Now, you can get away with lying in court. They call it theocratic warfare. It's not in the Elders book. It's in the 1954 Watchtower, but they still follow it in court because in court it's Satan's system. They're Satan. You can lie. They're viewed as Satan, the courts, the governments. And so because of momentary pressure, fear of man. So if you're in court, they'd let you get away with lying in court and just say it's fear of man. Their lawyers would say that for you. Now, number 28, generally a committee should not be formed if a Christian accuses another Christian of making a false statement in a court dispute. For example, this may involve divorce, child custody, support, and so forth. In such situations, a court has the responsibility to determine what is truthful. Therefore, the Christian making the accusation can express his concern to the court. So there's two courts. There's the congregation court, and then there's the real world court. You could be charged for manslaughter in the real world, and in the congregation you can just get, some reproof. Depends. It's two courts. Fraud, slander. Fraud involves intentionally deceiving another person in order to take something that belongs to them, so they cover that. The congregation should not be getting involved in cases of fraud and slander. They should take the first two steps and go to the person. So there's a few things: reviling, obscene speech, greed, gambling. Now, if a lottery ticket is given to you, sometimes you can, if you win, sometimes you can keep it. Sometimes, if you're on the news because of the lottery ticket, they don't want that. They don't want any notoriety on you winning the lottery. Gambling, right? They would stumble a whole lot of Jehovah's. If they got in the news, a Jehovah's Witness won $60 million. It'd be a good thing. They could donate it or do whatever, but it wouldn't be good publicity for them. They don't like that. They'd probably get in a lot of trouble. They could get disfellowshipped. Greed and gambling. A committee should be formed. That'll happen if a Christian's employment is directly linked with gambling. So if you have anything, even if you're working at the grocery store and there's that little booth where you sell lottery tickets and cigarettes, as a JW, you might have to say, I can't take that position. I can't work and sell cigarettes and lottery tickets. It's against my religion. That's what they would say. Or a committee would be formed. Could you imagine an elder walking into the grocery store and you're up there selling lottery tickets and cigarettes? They'll form a committee meeting on you. However, elders should usually give him 6 months to make the needed adjustments before forming a committee. So they might talk to you and say you got 6 months to change your employment. If your employment at the grocery store means that you got to work in the lottery and the cigarette department every Friday, then you're going to have to find a new job, or you're going to have to make a stand with with your employer. You see, this is how Watchtower gets into people's business, folks. It's bad. Because they'll say, well, congregation members go to the grocery store and they see you up there selling cigarettes, and they're going to get the wrong idea. When monitoring people for cigarette smoking is none of their business, or buying a lottery ticket. None of their business. You see how Watchtower gets in and controls people's lives, folks? It's bad. A business may give out a prize or prize money for advertising or purpose or part of a contest. Let's say you buy gas at a gas station, you get a free lottery ticket. I know an elder that was taking lottery tickets. He would accept the gift as a personal decision. He never ever won, but he always had a lottery ticket. A committee should be formed if a Christian greedily extorts a high bride price. So that could be in Africa, maybe. If you guys are in Africa and you're going to pump up the bride price. Man, I wished I had a bride price on my daughter. I had to pay for the whole damn wedding. Those cheap JWs didn't pay a damn cent. and I don't even get to talk to my daughter. You know, that's the BS that it is in this country. But anyways, a business may give out prizes or prize money for advertising. So there you go, folks. Greed, gambling, extortion. Now we go into refusal to provide for your family. So that's a whole section. If you don't look after your family materially, you're going to be in a judicial meeting. If you have fits of anger and you have violence, domestic violence, you will be in a judicial committee, and you should be. You should be dealing with that. You shouldn't. There should be none of that happening at the house. So part of living our lives with love, that doesn't fit in. And if Watchtower talked more about love than all of this nonsense, they'd probably have more love happening in their congregation. Now we got manslaughter, so we all know what that is, deliberate. The body of elders should investigate the matter, determine whether to form a committee. You see, you might not get a committee. You might be charged with manslaughter legally, but it might not get a committee meeting. You know, you might not be dealt with in the congregation. So, you see, they're saying here the body's decision should not be based on clearly establishing facts, not simply on the decision of the secular authorities, because they think the secular authorities are demonized anyways. So that's what you got going for you there. Apostasy, it's kind of at the bottom. That's us. It's a standing away from true worship, a following away, a deflection, a rebellion, and abandonment, and it includes the following actions. So you could be having a part of apostasy if you went to false religious holidays. If you let's say you're at the mall, you know, the big malls, indoor malls, we have them out here in Canada. And there's a whole Christmas scene, baby in the manger, and you get to walk through the whole Christmas scene at the mall. And you're kind of curious, so you walk through, it's all interfaith, right? It's all Christmas, and the elders are there. They're at the mall too that day, and they see you. They might have you in a meeting there. They'll be talking to you for sure, celebrating false religious holidays. They'll talk to you about it. And if you do it again, they'll disfellowship you or whatever. If it's a big thing, a lot of people know about it, and it becomes something big. A lot of conversation in the congregation, they might disfellowship you. It's in the elders book, apostasy. Participating in interfaith activities. So it's easy to get involved in that. This includes bowing before altars, shrines or idols, and images, sharing in false religious songs and prayers. And if questions arise, consult the service department. So there's all kinds of images and songs and all over the place. You can get into trouble depending on who's monitoring you, who's after you in the elders committee. Because these guys, they feel they got to judge. They feel they got to monitor people. They got to be on them. And that's why you look at this elders book, folks, this Appendix A. It's bad. So they're going to get you on that. Number 41, deliberately spreading teachings contrary to the Bible truth. Folks, let's rephrase this. Contrary to Watchtower's truth, you see. There's the Bible and there's Watchtower. So if it's not in the Watchtower, you're going to be charged with deliberately spreading teachings contrary to the Watchtower. We can talk all day about the Bible. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in the Bible and the truths, but it would get me disfellowshipped if I was in there today, if I talked to them about the Bible truths. So it's about Watchtower's truths. Elders should lovingly assist any with sincere doubts regarding the Bible, Watchtower's truth. You see, they throw Bible truth in, but regarding Watchtower truth, taught by Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, if a Christian deliberately spreads false teachings, this may be or lead to apostasy. And if he does not respond after the first and second admonition, a committee should be formed. So be careful, folks. This is how easy it is to be labeled as an apostate. Now, if you're causing divisions and promoting small groups, sects, Bible study groups, you'd think that'd be good in a religion. You get a bunch of friends over, hey, we're going to do a deep study on Revelation. That's a no-no. And I've seen this personally, where a few brothers were getting together, and pretty soon it was interesting. It got around the congregation, and they'd have like 12 people showing up, and it was an interesting group. And they would just talk. The brothers, everyone would just talk openly, and it all got shut down. It all got classified under causing divisions. And I think one of the brothers quit and left at that point in time. That was back in the 80s. So this has been around for a long time, and it's still in their elders book. So this would be deliberate action, disrupting the unity of the congregation is what they call it, or undermining the confidence of the brothers in Jehovah's arrangement. And it may involve or lead to apostasy. So, and now we get to employment. They're getting right down to where you work. Be careful where you work. If it has anything to do with if a Christian's employment is directly linked with false religion. So that, folks, that's every religion out there except Jehovah's Witnesses. So if you're working for a Mormon group, a Mormon employer, and he has you, doing, let's say you're in construction, you're doing houses, but the odd time you have to go to the Mormon hall or the Mormon tabernacle, and maybe he's got a contract there. You could be in a committee meeting. There's a lot of different groups out there, just normal groups. Some contractors bid on churches and stuff like that, and you're going to work in a church for the next year, building a big church or something. It looks like you could because your money's coming from the church, right? So I don't know. This is a dicey religion to be in, folks. Either you're working for some JW, cleaning carpet, or janitorial work. I guess now it's a personal decision. You can take higher education and do stuff now, but for most of us right now, didn't have that chance. We had to abide by the Watchtower. Now, next one is Spiritism. Be careful on that. If you're looking at your horoscope in the McDonald's, and they have those little free things where you can read your horoscope, and everyone's out for coffee after service and an elder's watching you, he might nail you for Spiritism. And he might watch you. Maybe he's going to watch you, and he might document you doing that a couple times. And then he'll pull you aside with two brothers. And he say, I've been out in service. You're in my I'm your book study overseer, and every time we go out for service, you're reading your horoscope. What's with that, brother? And we're going to remove your privileges, see how you do. They'll do everything except disfellowship him. But if the brother doesn't quit it, they'll DF him. They'll get rid of him. Spiritism. Idolatry, another one, includes the use of images in false religious worship. So all Jehovah's Witnesses are guilty of idolatry. All of them, 100%. They go on JW.org and they watch the governing body and they idolize them. They're all guilty of idolatry. All Jehovah's Witnesses. And the org is guilty of idolizing themselves, prostituting themselves in front of the people like that. The governing body is guilty. A lot of governing bodies are silent, like Mormon ones. You don't see them out there in the public like that. Each church kind of runs its own church. But this governing body, they are idolatrous. Did I say that right? Idolatry. Huge thing. Okay, so permitting individuals to commit sexual immorality in their home. Well, I got charged with that. I was out at work. 27-year-old JW came into my home. That happened. My daughter was 15. I lost all my privileges because I permitted it. Well, how the hell did I permit it when I was at work and I knew nothing about it? But that's what I got charged with. They just like to nail you with stuff. And I like showing this, folks, because this is real, true stuff. This is what I dealt with in my life. 30 years I was in this organization, and I dealt with so many rotten things out of this elder's book. It's a bad book. So that's the end of it. In some cases, a publisher may accept the counsel, but for certain reasons, he may feel he has no alternative at the present time. So anyways, they play with your privileges, they play with a lot of your stuff. That kind of brings an end to going over the sexual part of this Elders book. So when we look at it all, they're not just listing sins, they're describing acts in extreme detail. Imagine an elder reading this aloud in the back room to decide whether you're guilty of manipulating your genitals. That's not spirituality, folks. That's sexual surveillance. And they may even say masturbation isn't porneia, but then the same book calls viewing pornography or immoral conversation over the internet grounds for a judicial committee. So it's a double-tongued book. It's hard to read it, hard to understand it. They can go in many different directions. And they'll do that depending on how brazen you are with your reply. They'll call that brazen conduct if you argue with them or try to defend yourself. So what do we have here? A practice of engaging in a moral conversation over the telephone or the internet? Well, two consenting adults sending private messages could be summoned before a secret committee of men. It's a religion that monitors your phone, your laptop, and even your thoughts. Now, what happens between two married adults can become congregation business, and they call it shepherding the flock. I call this surveillance. Elders may question couples about private acts inside the marriage. The book instructs them to discern whether the conduct is minor uncleanness or gross uncleanness. That requires the formation of a committee, meaning your personal intimacy can be put on trial. So let's talk about this a bit. The human rights angle, the right to privacy. Article 17 of the ICCPR forbids arbitrary interference in one's private life. That's the right to privacy. And the right to dignity and autonomy. Human rights law protects personal relationships and sexual expression. And elders investigating what happens in someone's bedroom violates the right to privacy, dignity, freedom of thought, and embarrassment. No one should fear that their faith will put them on trial for loving another adult. And why this matters? This obsession with sex creates shame and control. It keeps members confessing, apologizing, and dependent. The more they confess, the more power the elders gain. And when religion steps into your bedroom, folks, your computer or your marriage, that's not faith. That's surveillance. Appendix A doesn't protect purity. It polices people. And the world needs to see it for what it really is. Well, folks, let's step back here a bit and let's think about what love is. Love isn't controlled, it's shared. The moment someone starts policing it, it's no longer love. And real love needs trust, not surveillance. You can't regulate intimacy and still call it love. And if love is on trial, then the real crime is control. They call it shepherding, but love doesn't need a committee. Love was never meant to be managed, only lived. And you can't fence in love. It grows where it's free. Control kills what love creates. Love doesn't hide behind closed doors. Fear does. And when you replace control with compassion, that's when love finally breathes. Real love doesn't need surveillance. It needs freedom. So live your life with love. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. Well, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank our Coffee Club supporters. These are the folks who help keep Fixing My Faith going. And I'm scrolling through them right now. And if you see your name, thank you for standing with us. But here's the thing. The best way you can support us is absolutely free. Over almost 60% of our viewers are not subscribed. So if you've been watching and getting value out of these videos, hitting that subscribe button tells YouTube to share this with more people who need it. So subscribe, like, and share. And we also run a completely free community. It's called exjwfriends.com. That's where you can find it on the website, exjwfriends.com. And then on the website, once you go there, there's a link to the private Discord channel. And that's where people have a lot of fun. People share their stories, they get support, and they can connect without judgment. That's what happens there. There's also people that will help coach, life coaches, counselors. There's all kinds of support at ExJW Friends. And if you're waking up or just need to talk it out, that's where you want to go. So here's a link on screen in case you want to find it. And we also put a link in the descriptions of all of our videos. You can just go right down there and hit the link to the Discord community. So whether you are supporting through the coffee club or just clicking, liking, and subscribing, it all helps spread the message. And we want you to know that we appreciate you. Live your life with love, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.